Welcome back. This is part 3 of the Beetle wiring, or it's going to be part 3 of the Beetle wiring. Some of the things that we're going to cover in this is going to be the light switch, and this is the original light switch, and it doesn't have a lot of detent. So we're going to take it apart and look at the inside of it and see exactly what is up. We're going to pry those away and we'll have a look at that and see if we can't do anything to it. This is a 67 light switch, and it is 1 year only. I bought one from Rock Auto, and it's very Chinese. And then I bought one from Wolfsburg West, and it has 1 pull. So it doesn't have the parking light feature. So I don't know why they would do that, but okay, we're going to have a look inside this, and we're also going to have a look at the wiper motor. If you have a 2-speed wiper motor, slow and slower, you might open yours up and look at it and see why. Maybe we can grease this, make it better, faster, stronger, quicker. As a special bonus also, I have poured some red base coat over it, so we're going to clean that up as well, and we'll make it look nice and see if we can't grease up things inside. We'll have a look at the brushes and the motor and such like that before we put her into action. Talked to a gentleman this morning from 1967.com, and he writes articles for that, and he also sells parts. So you know, I've dealt with him before. He's an older gentleman, but he knows his stuff, and he sent me pictures of a turn signal switch, 66 to 61 turn signal switch, and of course this is 1 year only because it has the light dimmer. It's not on the floor, and it's separate, so it's different than the 68, I believe it to be. And his has, where it goes on the steering column, a little piece of metal and a screw going through it, and a little detent on the end of the screw, so you can't take the screw out. Well, Abner had about 5 or 6 Red Bulls and was bound and determined to get that screw out of there, so he did, and so he could sell this little piece on eBay. So we're going to have to manufacture one of those, because yeah, we don't have one. The one he has, I was contemplating buying the turn signal that he had and using that part, but it's too big. You can plainly see that it's considerably bigger, and yeah, it's not quite as small as that. So we're going to make one. We're going to manufacture one, and then this collar slips over the steering shaft, and that little screw and the little piece of metal put pressure on it and hold it in place. So we're going to make one of those as well. Okay, let's get started, and we'll start with the switch. Okay, I have taken a microscopic screwdriver and gingerly pried the top off, or the bottom, and there is a terminal here and here that slides through, and this obviously connects to this strap, so we have to look at that. And things look rusty and crusty inside, so we'll continue. There is a plate right here that can be lifted, and when it's lifted, you have to watch where the pieces go, and then you can kind of take it apart. This section here goes on the top, and it has springs So we need to look at those springs because those are going to be for our detents. Maybe we can see if we can't rehab the springs a little bit and make it have a little bit better detent and clean up all the parts inside. Okay, there is this, which is your dimmer for your lights, your dash light dimmer. We're going to clean that up, and we're going to clean this ring and these contacts very carefully. And then this, that part goes to the back of the switch. This part here, if you notice, there are two detents right here and right here, and they run on that, like that, and then this switch portion, this piece right here, goes like this and fits in there, and it has two little microscopic springs on this portion right here. There we go. And then on this portion is the piece that holds the whole thing together in the case. It's got a little slot there. It goes in like little detents right here. It goes behind those little detents. And then this piece fits on the shaft as such. We'll take that off and we'll look at it. Okay, we'll leave that washer there. Looks like, if you can see, this little plastic piece here has a spring in it. This little plastic piece here has a spring in it too, but the spring is given up its spring. So we will take the top off of that, clean all these parts, and let's have a look at those springs. And we'll put that back together. And then we'll clean all these contacts as well as the inside of the switch. So let's clean all those parts. Be very mindful to not lose any of them. If you work on a big surface like this, it's beneficial because you're not going to lose all the parts. I think I didn't have you in the picture. I hope I did. Okay. We're gonna, whoops. Let's clean those all up with a toothbrush and maybe some lacquer thinner, something like that. Okay, have my parts cleaned. Sorry I bumped you again. From the Robert J. Allen collection, I have some steel wool, and I used a toothbrush and some lacquer thinner. One of these, yeah, did it up really nice. For this piece, I run it on my wire wheel. Okay, and these are the springs, or what's left of them, right here. This one is still intact. The other one is in several pieces. I wanted two of them that would match, so I used an official Dan's Mobile Glass pen, two of them, and I took the springs out of those. However, they were slightly larger than those others in diameter, but they were not wound as tightly, so I'm just going to use them as they are. And what I had to do, and I still might have to dress this up a little bit, is I took my drill and used a drill bit. There's a step inside this Bakelite piece. And now this one moves pretty good. The other one, it needs a little addressing because it doesn't want to move like it should. So we're going to need to address that and drill that out a little bit more. I'm making do with the best I can. In fashion, as I said before, it's do no damage. So I am damaging this by drilling this piece out. It's that or finding these springs, and you're not going to find those springs. So I'm going to address this so it works a little smoother, and then we will assemble this. But I really don't want to do it on camera because there's going to be lots of swearing and cussing and gnashing of teeth and whatnot like that in order to get this all back together. I'm going to use a little, this has got some 1030 in it, and lubricate things as I go to keep them mostly corrosion resistant. Volkswagen used a brass piece here, an aluminum piece here, and then a steel ring. So when you got those three metals all together jonesing away at each other, there's bound to be some corrosion, and the steel ring did rust. I put some oil on that, and so we're going to assemble this now. And again, we're going to use a little bit of oil putting it together. There's a couple of neat things I've noticed about this. You will not find in that Chinese switch. Is look at the amount of manufacture that went into this. Look at this. Look at this. For being an ex. I don't know if I should say this or not. I guess I will. An ex concentration camp guard. He did a fantastic job on turning out this little piece of aluminum. I shouldn't say something like that, but it's true. Look at the manufacture into that. Isn't that just gorgeous? It's just beautiful. And yeah, it's the Volkswagen parts are just amazing. The original parts are just amazing. They are. So I'm going to bore this out a little bit more of this little Bakelite thing, so my springs fit in there, my Chinese springs for my ink pens, and we'll see if we can't make that work. About like that, I think. So, don't get me lying to you. Would this then go like this, correct? And this whole mess goes forward. Yeah. Well, that has to go on there. It's advisable to take photographs of this before you go and operate. You know which way all this nonsense goes back together. Let's take that right back out of there. Oh, have you seen that little gasket? I'll have to start all over again. Let's see. It really don't like fitting on there, does it? Alright, let me fool with this a little bit more because the cussing and gnashing of teeth will start any time. What I managed to do, I managed to take this piece, the plastic piece, and the little brass piece and the two springs. I glued the two springs in with a little grease, okay, and then I put this on the end and I squeezed it all together and I tilted the shaft up this way. I slid it on and I managed to put the retainer back into place just by slightly opening up the case just a little bit. So I'm going to put the smallest drop of oil there, and a little there and there, and I'm just going to put a drop on the shaft. That's it. Then we'll put this on. Now, which way did this go? This way? I'm pretty certain that this went this way. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to look at that, and then we'll put the cap on, and we should be good. Okay, I had the whole thing upside down, so I put my switch together with the in there like this, okay, and then this little gasket here we slid back like so, and I had this upside down. So what we need to do is we'll pull the springs out and put these little plastic widgets in the spring. Let go. Hard to work with gloves on. Like that. And then we'll put this that's clever. Come on. See, this is where the cussing starts. Should go there. Oh, it slides on that little whiz bang right there. Just like that. There she is. Yeah. Now this little plate will go over the top. I need to... Oh, look what you got here. Oh no, it decided it didn't want to go. Alright, let me get that little deal goes on. It goes on the shaft like the shaft is here. It goes over the top of it like that. I have managed to squeeze it together, and now I'm going to pinch it down with some delicate tools. Don't know how that's going to work. I'm going to very gently place this in my vise and see if I can't very gingerly tap on these corners and get them seated. I have no doubt that this will work famously. No. It should work very well. You know, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little JB weld in each corner. to kind of secure that a little bit better. Because I have a feeling if I get it put in there, it's going to open like a jack-in-the-box, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, this is good. On with the next, and it'll be the wiper motor. Before we start on the wiper motor, this is the dome light that came out of the 69 that I stripped. The car that I have, of course, does not have a dome light. It's missing. This is passable. I know it's cheesed all up, but it's an original Hella model. And these are $30 or something like that at Wolfsburg. So we're going to try to make this work. And there's one problem with this is the switch. Little lever is missing. So what I did is I painted that little switch deal in there with a little bit of JB Weld, and then I have a connector, a blue connector, and took the insulation off of it, which is the small connector, and I'm going to pass that through here without tearing things up too bad, and I'm going to put that on that little switch, and then I'm going to position it in a way, let's see here, this is going to be off or on, and that's going to be in that position right there. There you go. Now I'm going to clean that up inside there with a Q-tip so it doesn't have JB Weld all over it. And I am going to manipulate my JB Weld on that little piece so it's swung the correct way, and then let it set, and then when it sets it'll be able to switch back and forth. And we'll use a vacuum, a cut down vacuum knob, just a little knob over the top of it to kind of dress it up, and it will pass for a light. Well, what are you doing taking this all apart? Well, with this car, it's all bets off. This come off of this right here. There's a warpy washer and a E-clip. This has a bail, pops off. Isn't that neat? Look at the little pressing in there. SWF. Stands for Schegelschreikum, Schriesmrachen, Wiffelflaffen, Florkwicken, Flangslangen, which is wiper motor in German. I don't know. SWF is probably a company produced it. It's a 14 millimeter under here, and what you do is you crack this loose, and then the motor comes off the frame. And then we'll look at the transmission, that is these, and we will see if both turn freely, and then if both turn freely, I must have to loosen that up a whole bunch. If both turn freely, we'll look at the brushes and make sure there's brush material and everything there. Then we'll grease everything and put it together and be satisfied that at least it's not bound up or froze up. Because Abner could have put this in some water. You never know. See? You don't know these things. Why, it's a puzzle. Isn't that something? Goes out like that. Look at that. Look at that. You'd never know. You'd never guess. It looks like it's got a little transmission under here too. Isn't that slick? Quite slick. Okay. Well, let's have a look at the brushes. The commutator looks okay. The brushes look okay. It's got 3 of them on it. So they look okay. Just. So let's get into it. You can see as the shaft of the motor is offset from the where it hooks onto the transmission, so it's geared. Has a little gearbox here, and let's see if it's full of scorpions or fiddlebacks or mud daubers. Might even be full of grease, you never know. Don't know these things. Maybe a big spring behind it. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Let's give that a little pry job. Little gasket. Got a big gear. And it is full of grease, however it is black and fibrous. I am quite glad that I have taken this apart, and I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to put some new grease in it, and be very careful with this little gasket, because it probably is a shim of sorts, and clean that up and put some grease in it. And let's see how well this motor turns. Very stiff. I think it should be considerably easier than that. So we're going to get into that, and it's my belief that that motor should spin a little easier. I'm glad I opened this up, because I think you have a bearing problem here. Let's see, do we have a bearing underneath that? On top? I don't know. I guess maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look at that and see. Okay. Oh, indeed, I am glad I have taken this apart. There's a bushing here, and the armature rides on it as such, and you can see, and I've got it turning considerably better, but the black fibrous Quaker State Robert Allen grease that's on there has turned to a sticky tar-like substance, and it's probably played havoc on this for ages. So we're going to clean up the commutator here and clean up our brushes. We're going to get all this. Wait a second, wait for it. Grease off of there and out of here, and we're going to put some fresh grease in it. Now, I have not turned this because I'm sure it is timed. I'm going to clean this up the best way I can and add some more grease to it, and not position the gears in any other way other than the way they are now, because I know that this is a time. This little cam right here is a timer, and what that does is it rubs on this tiny little switch right here, and when it gets into that position, it it runs on that switch and it shuts it off. The switch doesn't work very well because, again, it's packed with 50-year-old black fibrous Quaker State Robert Allen grease. Only Brian would know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get things cleaned up. Okay, we're going to carefully wipe all these down, and I have them spinning quite freely. Now it's kind of interesting how this works. There's a little spring behind it. It wouldn't even spring before. So anything we do forward is is going to be beneficial to this little motor and transmission. So we're going to wipe it all down, clean them all up. Here's the armature, and we're going to take a little steel wool from the Robert Allen collection and clean that. The commutator, and then I've cleaned out the gearbox, and we made sure the little works. Working on that. Okay, put a switch in there. And we're going to clean up the old gasket and use it, and we'll seal it together with a little ultra gray after we get it all cleaned up. So let's get it all cleaned up, and I'll grease it and start assembling. Okay, I've got a battery light on this, so I'm just going to let it roll until the battery light runs out, or until the battery runs out. I'm going to shine up my commutator a little bit here. I wonder if emery cloth wouldn't be better. Let's try a little emery on it. Yeah, I wish I had a better place to work. I need a better place to work. Let's try that. That's okay. Commutator on this is a little cheesed, as you can well imagine, with 50 years of service on it. Take a razor blade here and gently run in between and clean all the crap out of there. Not too bad. There you go. I think the first thing that went in there was this. There we go. So, grease on that. Not a lot, just a little bit. Oh yeah, that spins so much nicer. I just can't work with these. Oh, that's so much better. Magnet. Magnet. Here's our magnet. Let's see what we got here. You got to be careful around steel wool and a magnet, I'll tell you that. And this is going to go like this. Ooh. Boy, that's powerful. Two little pins right there. There we go. And let's see, that's going to go there. That means these go here. Can't go like that because it covers up the hole for the other one. I'll turn you back on in a minute. Let me continue studying this. I almost want to take and see what's under these screws, because there's a switch underneath here and I just want to make sure it's operating properly. I wonder if there's some big springs under here. Probably are. Points. Okay, there's your switch. Dink, dink, dink. So we'll switch right there. Right there. Oh, that seems to work. Kind of greasy. Looks like we have some more black fibrous grease here. It's all over the place. Yeah. I guess it'll be okay. We'll put this back on there. Is that how that goes? It can't go any other way, can it? Well, I don't like that. That's just right open. Oh, I see. I see what covers that up. What covers that up is the little gasket. It's not as sealed as you think it is. It is not as think as sealed you think. What? Exactly. Well, that battery's lasting longer than I thought. Okay. Okay, now, when you have your motor together, you want to make sure it spins easy. See? Spins easy. Okay. Your wires are out of the way, so it will clear the little cap. There's two little shims here that came off. They're like they're washers, but they're slotted, so they go forward and back. And what it looks like it does, it allows the placement of this little tip right here and the screw, so when the motor comes up, and it didn't do this before, but it does now, it contacts the very center of that screw, gives it a little slack. I'm not going to adjust that screw at the top. It looks correct. Okay. Now the transmission, and what we'll do is we'll take some nice grease. And grease that all up. I know it's not absolutely clean, but it'll be 100% better than it was, I think. Yeah, like this. The indent went over here, like this. That. Did it go over or on top? Okay, it would have had to go, this would have had to sit on the top. It's not, well, I guess it could sit like this, couldn't it? Yeah, but this gear here runs off the pinion of the motor, so it has to go this way and run the other gear. So we're going to put a little grease on this gear. There you go. And we're going to slide this down that shaft onto the pinion. There's the pinion right there. There's that gear. I took a screwdriver and cleaned out every little slot in that gear because it was truly boogered up with old grease. Truly. Okay, now let's wipe that off. And let's find our gasket pieces. Let's see where they're going to go. One here? No. One here. Yes. That's going to go there. And then this one is going to go here. I know it's not perfect. I understand that. It's going to be better than it was, though. And I think I have another little gasket piece. It's going to go right there. Okay. And then this. looks like cussing is going to have to happen. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to... Looks like we're going to have to swear and cuss in order to get this on there. Alright, let me get back with you. There is a bushing here that little gear runs on, so it goes to the bottom, and then the bigger gear goes on top of it, I think. Something like that. There's also a bushing here that the pinion of the motor runs on, and what it does is when you tighten this thing all together, if you notice, now there isn't any slack up there. You want to make sure your motor still turns, and it does. Quite lovely. So when you put your gearbox in, if you don't put your gasket in, you might push the motor too far this way, and it might be binding, so I put my gasket in. I'm going to clean this area up, and then I'm going to rub a little gray Permatex gray sealant. It's ultra gray. There you go. Around that to kind of keep the grease in place. I think this will perform much better now that we've cleaned everything up. I'm going to gently clean our armature, our commutator, and our brushes and the top of this, probably with a little lacquer thinner, get all the grease off of it, and because it's quite oily and greasy. But this will perform much better. Okay, we'll put it on the transmission after I get it sealed up. Yes, I know that looks like crap, but it will keep our grease in and the crap out. So there you go. Nobody will see that anyways. It's up underneath the dash. Now let's see about making a little piece of steel for that as a something that screw can push on. Something about like that. It's a little wide yet, but it has to be curved. So I'm going to put it on something round and kind of whack it a little bit and kind of grind it down a little bit. And I'm going to put a lip on it, and it's going to come down to a little tab so I can hold on to it. And that way when I put this on, I know it's in place. And then that screw right there has something to push against to tighten it up against the steering column. That works nice. Now let's cut this off so it's just a little tiny tab so I can manage. That'll work all right. Okay, I had a gentleman who does some work on a website called 1967.com, and he doesn't have a picture of a 67, but he has a gray switch, and this is going to be for 6-volt model, and this is just going to be a turn signal switch. It's not going to have a light on it, the high beam, low beam like mine has. If you notice, this has a hole here, and then it has the little curved piece, and the little screw and the little curved piece is attached via like a little rivet on the end of the screw of some sort or something. And as it screws in and out, it tightens up against the steering column. And there seems to be quite a bit more purchase here on this one than there is mine. And this is all the area I have. Now, I was going to buy this turn signal and use this part, but it's different. It's different than mine. There's more area here. And if you look at mine, it's quite a bit smaller. You just look at the wiring harness and it's quite a bit smaller anyways. So I'm going to make this, and I'm going to slide this up there and tighten a screw up in it, and hopefully it'll hold it on the steering column. That's what I'm up against. So anyways, okay, I just wanted to show you a picture of that. And here's our finished product right there. I got a little tab so I can hold on to it in the event that, yeah. So there you go. It doesn't want to capitulate. There you go. Okay. Okay. Now for a little levity. I just came back from Walmart and I bought a bell pepper and I bought a tomato and I bought a lime. Okay. And when you go through the self-checkout, of course, you've all went through the self-checkout and you've all been to Walmart and you have to look up the item. Well, you can't look up the item now. There's a little deal that when you push look up the item, there's a little box that shows up and it says scan your product now. Okay, there's no barcode on that. No barcode on that. And there's no barcode on that. So it says, or look up items. So you have to push another button, and then you can look up your item. Bell pepper, yeah, it's 89, whatever it is, right? But the thing is, if there's going to be a barcode on these, that means someone has to put a sticker on it. And then as the end consumer, we have to take the sticker off because you can't eat a barcode, right? Or you can, but see what I'm saying? And so it's the old adage of we're not going to put as many stickers on the glass for you so it makes it easier for you to clean it before you install it. And their directive was a sticker on the glass. And it takes people like me to point this out to the management there that no, this does not save time, like the little box implies. Save time and scan your product. It doesn't save time because you have to push a button again because there's no barcode on the vegetables. Okay, that's enough of that. Thought you guys would enjoy that.